where software quality lives, breathes, and keeps evolving.
Welcome. I'm your host, Gurpreet Bhadesh, and we're thrilled to bring you the first of many episodes to come, The First Beat. We're joined today by Thomas Steirer, Nagarro's very own CTO and Global Lead for Testing Services, someone who's seen software quality from every angle, from CI/CD pipelines to postmortems that actually helped. Grab your coffee and welcome to the show, Thomas.
Hi there. Thrilled to be here.
It's great to have you. So let's get stuck in. You and I were just chatting off the mic about release chaos. What's been your favorite win in the quality space this month?
This month has been an exciting month. As we're recording this, it's about mid of June, so I'm stretching it to mid of May also. Mm-hmm. A while back, we started with a huge automotive car manufacturer, and we brought some accelerators to them in the sense of, using AI to actually test better, test faster, test in a highly automated way. Right. And just this last month, we got some feedback from them, and it's really excellent. They're really happy with what we provided, and it makes their life a lot easier. And that always makes, me very happy when I hear that the things that we bring to our customers and the innovations actually provide value and are not just buzzwordy POCs that we build, but actually, change people's day-to-day work lives.
Absolutely. And when you see how it changes, right? So, yes. Before the implementation and then post-implementation, I guess that's the best bit about it.
Yes, it makes an actual difference, which is always great to see.
That's great. Okay. And then next, what makes your quality pulse race?
What makes my quality pulse race? I'm really a tester at heart, right? I love challenging software and finding issues with it. So I call it always, constructive destructiveness, mm-hmm. in the sense of when I see something new, some new software that's put in front of me, my first thought is, hey, that's really cool, but how do I break it? Yeah. So that's kind of the mindset I go with it. And that really gets my heart racing when I see something new and I want to explore it and go beyond its limits.
I mean, that's one way of getting to know something inside out.
Absolutely, right? Literally.
Great stuff. Okay, and so let's kind of kickstart the first episode and go straight into what this podcast is actually about.
So you call it the first episode, and that's what it is. But technically, I think we were calling it episode 0, right?
Yeah.
And there's a good reason because this will be more of an overview today about what this podcast will also be and what it will be about. But let me maybe to answer that question a bit better, go back 20 something years when I started out. Testing was something that was fairly unknown as a profession. Okay. So I remember we had this one interview with a candidate that wanted to join the organization, and we were telling them about, hey, this is a testing role in the testing space. And actually we're quite, advanced in that area. We write articles and books. And the person looked at me like deer in the headlights and said, you can write books about testing? So it was actually not widespread knowledge that testing is a thing as such, like as a professional thing rather than just trying out stuff.
Right.
And standardization with ISTQB and all that has helped a lot. And also automation and more deeper technical expertise, business expertise, risk management. All these things over the years added up to something that helped professionalize this type of work and this profession. Yeah. And I feel right now we're in a place, thankfully, for the last couple of years where it's eye to eye with developers together in agile or otherwise teams. And I think it's worth exploring the quality space, not only from a testing perspective, but mm-hmm. as quality engineering as a moniker came up, we saw that quality is actually just a lot more broad than testing. And with this, podcast, we really want to span the width of quality engineering, quality practices, agile practices for high quality software, and just focus on that angle of looking at software development.
Okay, that sounds great. And what kind of industries or sectors do you think would benefit most from Nagarro's expertise here?
I think it's very, very broad. When we look at software quality, it touches every single domain. So I mentioned, automotive, but also if you look at the finance sector, I mean, this is almost all software, all maths, all calculations.
True.
And if they don't work, that can cause huge damages. And we've seen that in the past, but also more tangible industries like, industry and manufacturing, right? It's getting more and more software heavy, and the hardware in the loop testing, these types of things are really important. And we see that across a broad range of manufacturing areas as well. Then, of course, there's other sectors that are even more dependent on software quality. If you look at the risk, life science and health, huge risk, potential risk there. Travel, aviation, all of these have potential impact on human lives, like physical human lives. So I think it's very, very broad, and we help a lot of customers in different spaces to do that. And much of what we do in quality engineering is transferable between these different industries, but some of it really requires deep domain knowledge and really getting into the thick of things.
Yeah, and that's where you, of course, you mentioned, right, we have our accelerators that we've worked on internally. And I guess that gives us our unique, deep insights on quality. And of course, each industry has its own kind of KPIs that they look to. But the bottom line here is that any kind of downtime is something we want to avoid. And that's where this all comes into play.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can test infinitely. Every non-trivial piece of software is practically impossible to fully test, right? So the challenge is really, where's the risk? Where are the things that actually keep you going as a business, as a role, as an industry? Yeah. And to really go into there and use that constructive destructiveness to really put the finger where it actually hurts and where you can actually identify gaps. That's I think the art behind it.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned that you've obviously been within this space for the past 20 years, and I'm curious to understand, how would you say the role of quality engineers has evolved over that period of time?
So when I started, and maybe, I mean, it's one person's perspective after all, right? But when I started out in an organization of quite a couple of people doing software development, a lot of them also in the quality space, I was back then the only test automation engineer. And I started with it, exploring tools, all of that. That's actually where I started out. And then I had some downtime because there were no test automation projects. Nobody was really interested so much in it as to invest in it. And there's a couple of reasons for that historically, if you look at the tool market and how it has developed. But I took the time to actually compare a lot of different tools and approaches. And then we saw test automation become mainstream, right? Okay. So on the one side, it's technical expertise versus the business testing, and both of that is really, really important. And then we've seen the agile shift, right? Where this cross-functional aspect comes more into it. And one way to look at it was, okay, developers now are also testers and operation, and DevOps is one of that, and Dev Test Ops another. Yeah. And the other thing is to say, okay, in a cross-functional team, you have different roles that but are on the same level. None is above the other or after or before the other. Rather, it's a common thing. And that, I think, brought it much more into the limelight as a practice. And as we see software scale up in terms of things like microservices, in terms of cloud, in terms of AI, I think that role will evolve further. Yeah, so we have these kind of phases of pure manual testing in the waterfall. Yep. Then you have this automation add on to that. Then you have the agile thing where then the discussion is, do we automate within the sprint or after the sprint? Right. And then the next phase is this dev test ops things that we've seen. And now we kind of go to the next level where things are even broader in terms of quality engineering. And now AI comes on top of that.
Great topic. We will come to that eventually, right? But just on that note, could you explain the concept of accelerated quality? So why is this in particular important? Yeah.
See, I think anyone can do slow and high quality. Yeah, you just take a lot of time. You cover all your bases. If you have infinite time, it's easy to build great quality software, right? And everybody can do fast and crappy. Yeah. Everybody can build software that's not up to par in a short amount of time. But the challenge comes in when you really try to build high quality software in a short time frame. And that's, I think, where the interesting aspects come into play. And this is the reality that we live in, right? Everybody's talking about time to market and fast software delivery cycles and iterative development with 2-week sprints and potentially shippable products and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you do that and not lose track of quality? And that's why we call it accelerated quality and test engineering.
Right. Okay.
Because that's exactly what we're focusing on with these accelerators: automation, AI support, DevOps, quality coaching, built-in quality, shift left, shift right, all of these things.
Finding that balance.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay. Great.
And even going beyond the concept of a balance, maybe, yeah, saying, okay, it's not necessarily a balance. We can shift both, maybe, if we do the right things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so coming back to the whole AI topic, right? How would you say AI actually impacts quality? Is there anything that you're working on currently where you've kind of experienced this shift?
There's a couple of areas I think that are interesting to look at right now. I think we see AI across the whole software development lifecycle. Everybody's talking about GitHub Copilot. Everybody's talking about the other, AI supported development piece. But that's just one section of what it takes to build software. The other thing is, planning and testing and deploying and running and improving and maintaining and migrating and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And analyzing and all of these things. So what we're doing right now is to at least within the quality space, take a look at the whole software development lifecycle and what the test lifecycle is within that. And we started a research project in 2019. So before the whole LLM hype and transformer models and all of that, focused on, making large test portfolios manageable somehow. And that worked out really well. And we thought for 9 problems that we had, we would use AI, but only actually used it for 3. The other ones we solved.
Okay.
So I see, if we look at what the impact is, one impact that we saw is that AI is triggering innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily AI innovation, but the conversation around AI gets people to think about their issues, problems anew, and maybe in a slightly different light.
Almost like outside of the box, right?
Yes, that's a very good way to phrase it. Yeah. So they look at it from a different perspective. And then once the whole LLM thing hit, we were like, oh, this is basically what we've been waiting for. So now we really can take test automation from being pure regression test execution automation, which is this tiny piece of the testing or a quality space, to a lot broader things, and things like improving requirements before they're actually implemented, analyzing software, analyzing development, and analyzing, for example, expert interviews, things like that. Bring that quality into the user stories, then build testing upon that, build automation upon that, execute that automation. And that's the side of how do I use AI for the software development lifecycle. And then there's the other side of building AI systems or systems that use AI, which again for quality is a new kind of thing, similar to how ETL, data warehouse, data testing is different from testing end user applications.
Yeah.
This is also kind of a new beast that we're still trying to figure out. And there's a lot of approaches that we've developed and solutions to do that. But I think the overall impact we'll see in maybe 10 years. Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And anybody who tells you that they know what the landscape is going to look like in 5 years, they either really believe what they're saying and they're just mistaken, or they're lying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so obviously AI is one of the trends at the minute that's shaping the future of quality assurance. Are there any other trends that you see at the moment?
There's quite a bit of things happening, similar to the AI Act, EU AI Act that we see in the AI space, which also has a lot to do with trust and validity of these solutions. There's of course the accessibility piece that is now in effect in Europe. So accessibility is, I think, a big topic right now.
Okay.
There's other parts like sustainable and green software, where there's a lot of greenwashing also going on. So really making sure, okay, what is the actual impact of the things that we do and how to improve that. And overall, you see chaos engineering also. It was a big hype a couple of years back. I think it's coming back right now as well, as we're talking about more diverse infrastructure, also using services like, for example, AI services.
It's almost like that whole, what you mentioned earlier, right? Trying to break it before it actually happens in real life. And that's where chaos engineering is a great example.
Yes. If it hurts, do it more often, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So with that then, let's talk about your motto and a recent article that you've done, titled in German as Die grünste Software ist die du gar nicht baust. Translated in English is the greenest software is the one you don't build, which I think is very relevant given the AI advancements that are being made. So what's your take on this? Obviously, you've hinted at it previously as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at sustainability, there's so many different dimensions to it, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the sustainability in green IT that we're looking at is how to make IT do more with fewer resources.
Yes.
Right. That's the one side of it. So that's things like cloud ops and FinOps and all of these things. I try to minimize the impact, because if you look at cloud and operational costs, then often a reduction of those costs also leads to less energy consumption with a lower carbon footprint.
Yep.
That's the easy side, to be honest. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the easier side, because you can very clearly measure it. You just look at your cloud consumption at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes more tricky if you look at the long-term impact. And then there's things like usability, right? Mm-hmm. If I go to a web shop and I immediately find what I want and I can filter it based on my needs and I order it and it's exactly what I wanted, then that's a lot more sustainable than trying something out, having 20 searches beforehand, ordering something that I'm not happy with, shipping it back twice, and then again receiving a replacement product until I'm happy with it.
It's inefficient.
Yes, it's as a whole use case, it's inefficient. Mm-hmm. And then there's things like very simple, right? If I have my navigation system in my car and it leads me on a optimized fuel consumption route, mm-hmm. then that has an impact. So how do we use IT to streamline processes and make those processes at their core more sustainable? So I think those two lenses are at least two lenses. And in light of that, and especially in AI, since you also mentioned it in your question, right?
Yeah.
This is why the tagline is the greenest software is the one you don't build. Do we actually need it? And if we actually need this feature, do we need AI to build it? Chances are you don't. Yeah? Maybe you do, but it needs to be a conscious decision, not like we had last year, this whole wave of we need to do something with AI. Yeah. That's the least sustainable thing you can do. Yeah.
I guess what people are trying to do is just get ahead of it, right? And you're not realizing actually is it actually necessary, and where do you draw the line? For example, I was reading an article about ChatGPT, and it mentions there the carbon footprint when somebody's like, please and thank you at the end of the response. It's totally unnecessary, but I also understand the other side of it as well. And it's a point that we haven't considered yet, which is why I think it's such a hot topic and so important to discuss this and raise awareness on it.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing is the awareness, and the other side is to actually make the impact that your choices have visible. Mm-hmm. Right. If you buy a train ticket in Austria, you'll see, okay, by not traveling with your car, you've saved so and so much carbon, right?
Yes.
And carbon emissions. And in a similar vein, we need to do that for software development decisions, mm-hmm. right? So, and there's so much that goes into it. As we said, the one thing is the cloud consumption part, which is the easier part, but also down the line, what impact do these decisions have, and make them measurable, visible, and not only be aware as a concept that this exists, but also the specifics and how to tackle them.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm excited because we'll be diving into a wide array of topics as the podcast goes and the future episodes to come. And some of these will be focused around accessibility, testing efficiency, and then AI as well. For now, what advice would you give to quality engineers and enterprises who are looking to improve their quality game?
I think it's a matter of really looking at everything that you're doing through a quality lens, right? Mm-hmm. So be open, think about what quality means for you specifically.
Okay.
Like, how do you tell that the thing you just deployed yesterday is of high quality? What are the data points you're looking at? And not only how many bugs did you find during development and what's your like defect leakage and all of these things.
Yeah.
But what is it actually that your end user, whoever that may be, perceives as being high quality, and what are their actual needs? And I think looking at it through that lens rather than an internal, hey, my team, my system, my infrastructure lens, rather, hey, this is something that somebody is using to reach a certain goal. And that lens, really can change it. And let me give you a very specific example. What I love to do with our customers is bug bashes. So these are kind of parties where you sit down together with really cross-functional. There's business people there, there's C-level there, there's testers there, there's developers there, there's requirements engineers there, like as many a diverse set that you can.
Okay.
Get them into one room, virtual or literal or physical, right? And just have them try to break the software that you're looking at.
Right.
Specifically, if you have a big presentation or expo or something coming up, this is huge to kind of build trust into your system.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun because at the end we hand out prizes for the best bug, the coolest bug, the most severe bug, the most bugs found. So we do this kind of maybe 3-4 hours. We order pizza. It's actually a big challenge to order pizza on 3 continents simultaneously if you do it virtually, but it can be done and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it gets everybody excited and it gives this awareness to software quality and also the product itself and its shortcomings. So play with it. Yeah. Be creative in your destructiveness.
Yeah.
And really try to almost dissect it to a point where you figure out where the weak points are.
I think that's a great way of looking at it as well, flipping the lens and actually encouraging somebody to actually break it. We're always working on the other side of things, right? Trying to fix stuff. But I think it would be quite fun to be on the other side. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And so as our next episode is on accessibility, just quickly, what are your thoughts on this topic specifically?
I think there's lots of software that should be for everyone, right? No matter if you have any restrictions, eyesight, mobility, whatever. Yeah. And I think it's a hugely important part of what makes quality is to consider these things. And especially in the case of accessibility, there's so many ways of using software that might seem alien to you as a, let's say, person that's not used to dealing with this.
Okay.
If we look and I believe in one of the next episodes, we might even have a demo of that, how screen readers are being used to traverse an application by somebody who is not able to see the UI.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how much we rely on certain cues that we sometimes take for granted. And when we look at accessibility and also the Accessibility Act, it's really about providing functionality and benefits to everybody, right? Not just the people that you think of immediately. And it's a thing that comes again from starting when you conceptualize the software down the line. It's really hard to build in accessibility at the end. Of course, you can identify and you can do assessments and find out what the gaps are and then try to fix them. But again, it makes much more sense if you look at it from an end user's perspective from the start and to take that section, that section of the global population into account from the beginning and also see, how that works and how different types of people interact differently with software, no matter if it's software that you use in a business internally or end customer facing, because a lot of times we focus on government platforms and e-commerce applications where you perceive the end user as being a wide cross section of the population. But even if you look at internal applications that you use to produce value, even then, if you open up, these applications to people that have certain restrictions and you are good in providing accessibility features for them, that has an impact on your workforce. Yeah. You can now hire people because of their skills, no matter what, physical restrictions they might have or idiosyncrasies they might have when interacting with software.
Yes.
So it provides either way, not only a value to the users, but also to you as an organization, I think.
Okay. Great. And thank you for that. And then lastly, what helps you keep the beat when everything gets complex? It sounds like this happens often, so I just had to ask the question.
Things get complex, yeah. Things get complex really quickly when you talk about software, right? Hello world is easy, but as soon as you add like some functionality to it, things become crazy. So I think we touched a lot on thinking like the person or the group or the organization that will use your software at the end. And I think just taking a step back and looking at what's really relevant, yeah, shifting gears a bit down and try to take a look at the big picture, because when things get complex and tricky, it's often not a matter of doing everything and solving everything. It's more a matter of picking the things, picking your fights, picking what's really important and addressing those things first.
Right.
The most important things might not be the most urgent, and it's sometimes hard to see in the heat of battle, if I use that phrase, to see if what you're doing is actually the thing that you should be doing at that moment.
Yeah, of course. You see it often, people start with the end in mind, but as they get stuck in, it's totally lost and you go down these different rabbit holes. And like you mentioned earlier, knowing your audience, this is huge as well. There's like so many different topics, but yeah, that's very fair.
Absolutely. So what helps me actually to give a very concrete example, I stand up, I pick some green space in the area. I take a walk for maybe half an hour, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours sometimes if things are really tricky and heated.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to smoke pipe. That was also a very, very good thing, because if you smoke pipe, you need to take 45 minutes for it. So there's no way you can enjoy the way properly. So take a step back, distance yourself, think about, allow your brain to process all of these impressions that you have, try to get out of that rabbit hole and those details that you're fussing about, and actually take a deep breath in a green environment, preferably, and really try to sort things through in your brain. And that helps me a lot when things get complex.
I completely agree. It works wonders. My thing is to always go to the gym.
Oh yeah.
And then I'll think about the problems and then have a few potential solutions lined up for the next day. And that's basically how I get through it. And it normally encourages a different line of thinking. So
yes, absolutely.
Great. And that concludes this episode. So Thomas, thank you so much for starting this podcast off definitely with a bang.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there, if you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your feedback means everything to us. And our next episode will focus on accessibility, where we will be joined by Anamika and Uppal. So if you do have any questions you would like us to address on the topic, then please do go over to go.nagarro.com/quality-beat and submit your questions. Thank you once again, Thomas, for joining us.